Hello everyone, I'm Raji. In my last lecture video, we have already seen the basic thing of bias, variance and trade-off. Today we are going to see about what is a summary of bias, variance and trade-off. So generally bias is a predictive errors which has bias and variance. In machine learning process, we have some errors, that is reducible error and irreducible error. Under the reducible error we have bias and variance. The basic view of bias is difference between our actual and predicted values. This instance where the model cannot find patterns in the training set and hence fails for both seen and unseen data is called underfitting. So the characteristics we have already seen in last class. The main thing is variance, which can be defined as the model sensitivity to fluctuations in the data. If the model is allowed to view the data too many times, it will learn very well for only that data. So it will capture most patterns in the data, but it will also learn from the unnecessary data present or from noise. So this is the variance. So example we have already seen in my last lecture video. Just I will give the overview of that. Some machine learning algorithms with a low bias are k nearest neighbors, decision tree and support vector machines. That is, SVM has a low bias because of it has an hyperplane vector systems. And at the same time, some machine learning algorithms that have high bias also, that are linear regression and logistic regressions. The summary of this bias and variance is, while bias having underfitting, it has high train and test error. In variance, it has overfitting, it has high test error. So about that summary of bias and variance is low bias and low variance. So this is the combination is an ideal machine learning model. However, it is not possible practically. So this is the state of low bias and low variance. Low bias and high variance is, this is a case of overfitting where model predictions are inconsistent and accurate on average. So the predicted values will be accurate, average, but it will be scattered. So this is the state of low bias and high variance. And high bias, low variance, which is case of underfitting where predictions are consistent but inaccurate on average. The predicted values will be inaccurate but will be not scattered. So this state is called high bias and low variance. And fourth one is high bias and high variance. In this case, with high bias and high variance, predictions are inconsistent and also inaccurate on average. So this state is called high bias and high variance. So the picture will represent the low variance and high variance. Under the low variance, it has an underfitting with high bias and low bias. In overfitting, it has an high variance and lower variance. So this is the basic summary of underfitting and overfitting in the cases of low bias, low variance, low bias, high variance, high bias, low variance, high bias, high variance. So this is the state. And the trade-off is, if the model having fewer parameters, it may be have low variance and high bias. Whereas if the model is complex with large number of parameters, it will have high variance and low bias. So there is a need to strike a balance between bias and variance errors. So on this balance between the bias and error, and variance error is known as bias variance trade-off. So this is called the bias variance trade-off. So the figure will represent the variance, overfitting, high bias and underfitting. So this is called bias variance trade-off. In next slide I have mentioned some reference for the bias variance and trade-off. So today we have seen the basic thing of bias, variance and trade-off in machine learning. Next class we are going to see about the next topic. Thank you.